Hi everyone. My name's Antony Martin from Martin Architects. The project I'm going to present today is a house in Skenes Creek, so just down the road. We've been working on it for approximately a year. It's actually in the planning process at the moment. The house burned down through an electrical fire at the end of December 2014. So we were trying to replace the house. So partly what I'm going to try and do today is talk through the process of what we've gone through to get to the planning permit stage and the considerations that we've had to make to get to that point. I'll just run through a couple of other projects we've done briefly that have been done to bushfire standard, all BAL 29 houses. This is a weekend house down in South Gippsland in Venus Bay. It's a BAL 29 house. It did require quite an extensive consultation with the CFA to get the BAL rating reduced from 40 to 29. The reason I mention that is because part of working in these areas and approaching these designs, it's very much a collaborative process with the authorities and with the consultants that you engage to work through the process. This is a family, a sort of retiree's house, country house in Trentham. Again, to BAL 29 using spotted gum cladding and a concrete floor. And this is a weekend house in Dalesford under construction at the moment. Abutting some public land with mature eucalypt forest on it. And again, required quite a bit of consultation through our building wildfire consultant, council and the CFA to get a BAL level approved and approach as to the design for the 29 for this one. So this is the site that I'm dealing with at the moment. It's very similar to a lot of the sites in Wye River, perhaps not with the surrounding of the eucalypt forest. It is very steep. It has some very tricky geotechnical considerations that we need to work through. And most importantly, my clients have lost their home of 20 years, and all they're trying to do is replace what they had before as quickly and as efficiently as they can. But they have to replace a 25-year-old house with one that now complies to the regulations. The house over there is on the left-hand side. You can see it's sort of, again, a wedge-shaped block. Big blow at the start of the process was that one of the first things you do is you get a survey done to establish what your boundaries are and where the property actually is. They then discovered that about a third of the site is actually a road reserve and we couldn't build on it. So that was a nice way to start things off. As you can see, it's surrounded by forest. There's a lot of attack direction from the south and southwest. Where there's an existing cut through the site, so there's a cut through the sandstone and then it's piled to the right-hand side. Effectively means that established a building platform to which we work to again. And then part of the site condition is also the memories of the site, how the family used the site, which is, as a designer and an architect, really important aspect to have, because it's not someone that's just bought a lot and approaching it with a fresh set of eyes. It's actually, they bring a lot of experience and knowledge to what their site has to offer. So the process that we run through, I guess, as architects, as we meet our clients and have an initial design consultation. So that there's a lot of conversation about what they hope to achieve for the site. There's obviously discussions of budget and some alignment of reality and process and the advice that we can give and how we would structure the process going forward. We then move into what's called a sketch design process. So we're starting to, at the end of that process, we have a design, but to begin that process, we need to bring other people involved on board. And these sites, the two sort of key people we need is a bushfire consultant. So they actually do the analysis of the site, the attack levels and the attack directions. And then they can help, they provide you with what the bushfire attack level is, but they can also help with your planning of the the building that you're going to do. So instead of just saying, this is the house, what do I have to clad it in to make it comply, it goes to a deeper discussion and a to and fro between client, the architect, and that consultant. The other consultant, which is absolutely key, and I was not as aware of when I began the process here, is the geotechnical consultant. This person's actually been even more key for the site than the bushfire attack consultant. So with these steep sites, with the footings, with septic systems, wastewater disposal, stormwater, all those things are very complicated to deal with and require expert advice. So they're a very important person to get onto the team early as well. And again, it's not just something that's tacked on to the end of the design, it's something that's worked through collaboratively. So at the end of that sketch design process, you have a design, you have your report from a wildfire consultant, you have a land capability assessment, an LCA, and a landslide risk assessment. So all those three documents go forward to actually make up your planning permit. So that then goes to the Colac Otway Shire. You get assigned a duty planner, and then they would coordinate the review of those various reports, either within council or to other external reviewers. And then there is quite a process of to and fro and refining that information and additional information. One of those people is a CFA, and I've found them that actually they've reviewed the documents in a very efficient manner and were very good at communicating as to their requirements, what we could do to improve the design or change it. And again, with the LCA and LRA, same things. So once you have that design, that planning permit, then it's back to the architect and the client working through those documents to provide something that a builder can actually construct. So I'll run briefly through how our process went for the Skenes Creek house. So this is before we're presenting designs to the client, I was working with the wildfire consultant and discussing things. It's like what Ian was mentioning earlier. You know, there is the Australian standard, but there's also approaches to the siting and massing and responses to attack level, in addition to just ensuring the cladding is up to a certain level. So we discussed sort of with a feasibility way of how we might site and break up the form of the house to create additional protection for the occupants. So that involved possibly breaking up the form into a series of cells that responded to the predominant attack level direction. We then played around with form models and modelled up the site so that using a sort of form model you get a good idea of the contour of the slope, but also how that slope affects the siting of the house and the response to the bushfire and views and light. And so our overall strategy ended up being breaking the house into two blocks, one to be I think the next slide's a plan. One to be a bedroom block towards the south, and then a living block towards the north. So the idea was that the attack level was coming from here. So there would be one block there that would be more solid and less glazed, and then the other block to be more glazed and open up to the view. Like I said, we were using the existing building footprint, and we proposed using blockwork for many of the reasons that were mentioned before, the natural attack, the protection for Bower 40. But then we've actually used it in another house in Fairfield where we combined the regular concrete block outside and then a honed concrete block inside, and it's actually a really lovely material to have inside the house. So that's the plan. 3 bedrooms, it's a pretty tight plan. Bit less than 150 square metres. 3 bedrooms on the right, kind of a dramatic gap that breaks the 2 volumes, and then living space, dining and kitchen, opening onto the outdoor living area. Section sort of shows how we're responding to the cut through the wall, and then that's the attack level. So we do have a varied response to the bow rating depending on elevation. It was interesting to see that Ian was saying that maybe not so might be frowned on. And that's a render of the view of it from the outside. So in parting, I just wanted to say that we're here to respond to the Wye River fires and how we rebuild, but the wildfire response is only one part of the design response, and that when we're reconsidering these houses and redesigning these houses, it's still about all those things of view and materials and feeling, and there's no reason that those things are not part of that design process, and it's just something that we need to work through as accompanying everything else. Thanks.